All happy with it. Yeah, I'll just start reading off all of the answers now for whoever sneakily got in early. There you go. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Cool. Will do. Hello. I can see that people are starting to arrive now. So as is now standard operating procedure, if you can just pop your team name into the chat once you're here and settled in, and we can start ticking off. We can start filling in the register, ticking off the guest list. Hope you're all well. But yeah, just stick your name in the chat, your team name in the chat when you've got a moment. Hello, Pam. It's Quisley. Nice to see you. First in. Hope that didn't sound too obvious. I think it probably did. Good stuff. Hi, Craig. Craig, you're with Ain't Getting On No Plane, aren't you? If I remember rightly. One of our regular quizzes now. And I'm hoping, Craig, this is the week where you are able to contribute a correct answer. They say fourth time lucky. Just hanging on for that life and times of Craig Armstrong round. Farad's here, of course. It's the only reason the stream's working and the sound's on. Crown Corners are also in. Farad, the Wuhan Clan, and so on. So we're doing well. Not sure about that one. In the only place that anyone wants to be on a Wednesday night, the NSB COVID quiz. Talk of the town. Talk of the town. You'll have seen in Farad's email, we've got people revising now. We've got people watching past streams for performance analysis, marginal gains. It's starting to be taken very seriously. Hello, Wilborn family. How are you? I've got my Service Pro pen, which is a fantastic bit of kit. I don't know if it's actually going to help me with the quiz at all, but feels nice just to wield it. Fantastic bit of kit. Numbers just creeping up now. We're looking to start, of course, at 1:30 as previous. Be quite helpful if you grab yourselves pen and paper now. Probably a real pen. This doesn't actually write on paper. Grab yourself a pen and paper. Get yourself a drink. Get yourself comfortable. Maybe get the answer sheet for round one open nice and early. It's in the email that Farad sent out. And the sooner we're all good to go, the sooner we can start quizzing, which is we're all here. I know you're not here for my chat, that's for sure. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Steph. Hope your dad's nice and warmed up, ready to quiz. Been on Sporkle all afternoon, no doubt. How many players did you say we had this evening, Fred? Excellent. Hello, Phil. Hello, Hannah. Thanks for joining us. Excellent. very, very much against character there for Phil not to bother filling out the entry form and turn up anyway. Tom, it would be almost too easy for me to say that I'm looking to replicate my idol. But there you go. I'm a little bit of orange food dye and a bald head away from starting to look a little bit like you. Quiz Read, reigning champions, sitting high on their perch, are here or getting here, making some last-minute preparations to what is clearly a winning formula. Hello, Alison. Ali, you're the Latvians, if I remember rightly. Yeah. Just starting to get to know the regulars. We got any new teams this evening, Fred? Any new starters? Hello, Alice. Good to see you. We've kind of assembled our core cast of characters now, haven't we? Bit of a different assortment of rounds for you this evening. I'm going to hold the name of the first round until we start, just because it's a little bit unusual. But I will tell you that there will be a picture round 3, which is once again related to film. And there is a music round as well, not intros or a sort of not an audio music round so much as a music trivia round. Everything from pop to classical. And round 4, once again, I haven't completely run out of inspiration yet. So round 4 is going to be another connections round, giving you 4 answers and looking at you to establish the cryptic connection between them. Hello, Emily. Thanks for joining us. Let's get Quizzicaller in as well. Barrett and the Lady Providers are almost all met as well. As I say, if you've only just joined us, please do put your team name in the chat when you get a moment. Pear Tree are in as well. Alice said hello. Yeah, get yourselves comfortable. Get yourselves pen and paper at the ready. Perhaps get your round 1 answer sheets up and ready. And yeah, we'll be looking to go in just over 5 minutes. Looking to kick things off for the 4th week. The Hall of Fame at the moment. The Welch family, who have they came in like a wrecking ball week 1, blew away all opposition, and then have never been seen again. They won the first week, and the last 2 weeks the field has been held by Quiz Read, which is the team of Helen Kennedy, Justine Davis, Abby Imerson, Sarah Bradley Brophy, and I think on occasion Justine's dad might sub in and sub out as well, as Justine's quick to tell us, the saviour of the sport round and things like that. So the challenge really tonight, the gauntlet that's being thrown down, is being thrown down by those ladies who, I mean, last week was a tour de force of quizzing. I think they dropped one point in the whole quiz, if I remember rightly, which was quite sensational. I think it was a question on Ray Harryhausen, the cinematographer who developed the techniques for all the kind of monsters in the classic kind of adventure stories like Jason the Argonauts. So if they are on that kind of form again tonight, it's going to be an uphill struggle for anybody else. But a team who very much would be in contention would be Eld Hewitt-Old, John Elder, Johnny Hewitt, Claire Alderson and friend, who have pushed them close every week and might just find the questions falling for them tonight. Or maybe somebody who perhaps has been mid-table might find that tonight's their night, or someone who's been sort of up and around. The Pear Tree season quizzes there, always going to be dangerous. I think a team has no name. Hannah Howe's team were up and in amongst it last week as well. Never count out Winfield and his crew. The Latvians, I think, did really well last week as well. Speaking of season quizzes, Helen Topping-Shaw, hello, good to see you. Again, someone that you wouldn't put smart money against. It really is a constellation of stars tonight. Minus Dominic tonight. Well, they need that might turn out to be an advantage. Imagine if multiple people could get a word in. Oh, sorry. I take it back. Minus Harry's a disaster. I've heard he's the real brains of that operation. Ross Parker, immediately the cool factor of the quiz has at least doubled. Just asking. Always feels like I'm sort of reading out a car registration number that's parked in the head's parking space. But are the newly quarantined teachers present? I've been asked to ask. Oh, there you are. You're here. Can you please move your car out of the headspace? We are looking to start in about 5 minutes. So if you've been here a while, I apologise because you're going to hear this again. But if you have just joined us, pen and paper, all invaluable. Please don't try and use your new Surface Pro pen because it doesn't write on paper. Go the old-fashioned way, get a pen and paper. You can write down clues, you can write down questions, you can write down numbers that need repeating. It's really, really useful. Saves me time on repeating questions quite often. Get yourself really comfortable. Get yourself the round one answer sheet open, ready to go. If you haven't got that to hand, it will be going in the chat fairly soon. But I'm hoping to start fairly promptly at past because I'm already running out of inane chat. The reserves are running dry. So if you are ready to start at past, I'm ready to start at past. We can get on to the thing that you're all here for. And as I said, it's certainly not my patter that you're here for. It's questions of reasonable difficulty and unusual length. I'm being asked whether Financy Our Chances and or the Thompson Tartans are present, and if so, could you please just throw a salutation into the chat box, just so we know. And we don't want to start without anybody. But if it gets to past and you're not here, we probably will start without you. Sorry. Yeah, good point. If they're not here, they wouldn't have been able to hear that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Farad in my ear, always putting me on the straight and narrow, of course. You'll notice it's a red wine this evening. I have shifted across to the dark side. Nice Portuguese red. The Thompson Tartans are present and correct. We're just checking. We want to know if the Bridgewater 4 are present, a returning team. If the Bridgewater 4 are present, please let us know in the chat. That would be incredibly helpful because I'd quite like to start within the next 120 seconds or so. And whilst we're waiting our thumbs, do get those round one answer sheets open, and I think they will be able to go into the chat in just a moment. Please don't make me look silly, Farad. Thank you. Financial chances are present. They are all accounted for. No. I'll stick to asking questions. Vari, it is Porter 6. I can't remember how to say 6 in Portuguese. It's got the little sort of artist impression of the number 6 tram on it. It's good. I like it. It's chewy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so maybe they are discretion being the better part of valor for them, and they're shying away. Okay, if they do join, they do join in. We're waiting on a couple of solo players, but I think perhaps by at this time we can say that they might be participating. If they do join, then they can catch up. So welcome again to the NSB quarantine quiz. Somehow this is now. Oh, there you go. Bridgewater 4 and Helen Hassan are both in now. I don't think this is anyone's first time, but if it is, thank you for joining us. If it isn't, thank you for joining us again. You'll know how this works by now generally, and if you don't know how it works, I would hope that it's fairly self-explanatory and kind of functions just like a normal quiz. We have 4 rounds of 15 questions tonight. Each round is themed. Sometimes that theme is very straightforward, such as music. At other times, the round is a bit more unusual and perhaps speaks to the interests of the question setter to some degree. We've had some fantastic scores in previous weeks, and we've also had people who have gone all the way over the leaderboard, bottom, middle, top, which is really, really good to see. The current champions, the reigning champions, the holders are Quiz Reed, who I mentioned earlier, who will be looking to defend their title for an unprecedented 3rd week in a row. Unprecedented because we've only done 4 weeks, but never mind the technicality, it'd still be a very, very impressive feat. For each round, an answer sheet will appear in the chat. You just need to open that and type in the answers as I read them out. I will read the questions out once. I'll read the questions out a second time, a little bit more quickly, giving you opportunity to hear any questions you've missed a second time. If you still need a question repeating, just pop the name of the number of the question in the chat, and I'll just repeat that for you. At any point after me reading out the questions for the first time, you are free and welcome and actively encouraged to submit your answers to the man behind the scenes, the real brains of the operation, Farid, who will begin to mark them. And the sooner you submit them, the sooner we can get them marked. And once again, the less of my padding chat that you have to be subjected to. 4 rounds of 15 questions. You will have and should have answer sheets for rounds 1, 2, and 4 already. We will pop them in the chat when they become relevant. Round 3, once again, you won't have an answer sheet for yet because it's a picture round, and we didn't want to give anybody an unfair advantage if they happen to open it early. So you'll get the answer sheet for round 3 as and when it comes. The general structure will be read questions once, read questions again, time to submit answers, answers read out, and then scores on the doors and a leaderboard. We won't be taking a full official break in the middle because we can do that during round 3, where I'll say, take 10 minutes, fill in the answer sheet, and away you go. And that'll serve as a break for both of us. And we will do cumulative scores at the end of every round. I'm going to assume, as we are all veterans by now, that you don't need any of that repeating and you don't have any questions. And I'm going to make a start on round 1. So if you haven't already, please do open up your answer sheets to round 1. And I can now exclusively reveal that the theme or the title for round 4 is Magic, Mythology, and Mystery. It's exciting, isn't it? Magic, mythology, and mystery. Some of you thinking, God, that's my specialist subject. Some of you thinking, God, I was really hoping for a sport round. Either way, listen very carefully to each of the questions, fill in your answer sheets, and without further ado, let's start week 4 of the COVID NSB quiz. So, question 1 in round 1. Born in Budapest in 1874, which performer's real name was Eric Weiss? He died in America in 1926 after becoming a household name, possibly due to being struck multiple times in the stomach. So I'm looking for a performer who became a household name in America, born in Budapest. Now, think about the title of the round. So when I say performer, I'm probably talking about someone who is in some way involved with magic or mystery or myth. And let's see if you can figure it out. Don't worry if the answer escapes you first time round. We'll be coming back to it shortly. Question number 2. In Greek mythology, which Titan gave the gift of fire to mankind? He was punished by Zeus for this by having his liver eaten out every day by an eagle. So in Greek mythology, which Titan gave the gift of fire to mankind? Question number 3. On which island, modern-day North Carolina, was the first attempt at a permanent English colony in America made by Sir Walter Raleigh? It became infamous as a lost colony as all of the settlers mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only the enigmatic word Croatoan carved into a tree. So looking for the name of the island on which the first English colony attempt was made in America. You may have heard the story of this with the mysterious carving on the tree before. If not, after the quiz, not during, I advise you to look it up and have a read because it is quite the tale of intrigue. Question number 4. What is the name of the novel written by T.H. White and published in 1958, which tells the story of King Arthur? In this story, the wizard Merlin lives his life backwards, leading him to make several references to things like tanks, telegrams, and Adolf Hitler, despite the medieval setting. So I just want the name of the book by T.H. White, published in 1958, all about King Arthur. Question number 5. In Norse mythology, what kind of animal is Ratatoska? He is usually portrayed as a spiteful creature who runs around the branches of Yggdrasil, spreading rumours and gossip. So what kind of animal is Ratatoska in Norse mythology? Spiteful little gossip. Sounds like Tracy Barlow from last week's quiz. How are you doing on these questions so far, Farad? You know you've got all the answers in front of you, don't you? Okay, question number 6. In Rian Johnson's 2019 film, Knives Out, styled as a modern take on the classic whodunit, which actor stars as gentleman detective Benoit Blanc? Do you not look at the answers, Farad, until Wednesday night in case someone starts trying to, like lean on you or bribe you? Really? Just so everybody knows, Farid is completely immune to bribes of any kind, money, holidays. He won't take anything, so don't even try. Me, on the other hand, slip me a tenner, and I'll probably tell you all the answers. There's a real integrity gap between the two of us. Anyway, question 7. Question 7. In the world of Harry Potter, How many players make up a regulation Quidditch team? How many players make up a regulation Quidditch team? And that is on the pitch at any given time, not including substitutes or replacements. Although I can't remember a time in which substitutes or replacements are mentioned, but how many are flying around on their broomsticks at any given time? Hey, I mean, in terms of haircut bribes, I think I'm looking. I think with the hair and beard, I'm starting to look like I disappeared into the board game Jumanji for a 20-year period. Or coming on a little Alan Parrish, I think. Question number 8. This is for the classically educated amongst you. Craig, it's your time to shine at last. The Greek hero Bellerophon was most famous for slaying which vile, fire-breathing monster made up of the parts of a lion, a goat, and a serpent? So in which mythological monster did the hero Bellerophon slay? Johnny, clearly quarantine is sending us all mad, because either you just said something nice about me, or I just hallucinated and you said something nice about me. Either way, I don't believe it. Question number 9. Bit of real life mystery for you here. Which aristocrat, once considered for the role of James Bond, mysteriously went missing on the 8th of November, 1974? Question number 10. Appearing in only 2 scenes of the play, who is the mistress of the weird sisters in Macbeth? She shares a name with the Greek goddess of magic and the crossroads. So, appearing in only 2 scenes, who is the mistress of the weird sisters in Macbeth? She shares a name with the Greek goddess of magic and the crossroads. So, no pressure if anyone teaches Macbeth or anything like that, which I'm sure some members of the English department probably do. And hopefully this will be a matter of ticking a box for them. And for the rest of you, it's a case of whether you listened when your English teachers were teaching you Macbeth. Question number 11. In Egyptian hieroglyphics, I'm going to start that again. I phrased that one wrong. The Egyptian hieroglyph known as Wajet or Ujet depicts the eye of which sky god? You may have heard it referred to on BBC's quiz show Only Connect. And if you watch Only Connect, you've definitely heard this before. And if you haven't watched Only Connect, you're not taking the NSB COVID quiz nearly seriously enough. So, I mean, there are 2 types of people in the world: those who have a crush on Victoria Coren Mitchell, and those who have never watched Only Connect. Is your wife aware of that? Is perhaps a more pressing question? Maybe. Yeah. And I mean, if she did find out, the haircut she gave you would be punishment enough. Okay, question number 12. What was the full title of Agatha Christie's first published novel, which introduced audiences to the beloved sleuth Hercule Poirot? Question number 13. What is the name of the brown wizard in J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth? Although he was entirely cut from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he was portrayed by former Doctor Who actor Sylvester McCoy in the Hobbit films. So looking for the name of the brown wizard of Middle-earth, which I think is probably the short straw of wizardry, isn't it? Being the brown wizard. A little bit like Mr. Pink in Reservoir Dogs. Probably wanted another name, all things considered. Question number 14. What was the name of the Greek youth, allegedly the most beautiful man in the world, who was abducted by Zeus to serve as his cupbearer? The largest moon in the solar system is named after him. I'll give you a clue. The answer is not Josh Melling, because he's not Greek. Beautiful though he may be. And the final question in this round, which crime writer created the detective Dr. Tony Hill, who was portrayed by Robson Green in the TV series Wire in the Blood? Now, you can submit your answers using the submit button on your answer sheet at any point from now. But just in case you missed any of the questions or want to hear them a second time, I'm going to go through them again quickly, and then you've got a couple of minutes to submit your answer sheet. So if you missed anything, pay close attention. Question number 1. Born in Budapest in 1874, which performer's real name was Eric Weiss? He died in America in 1926 after becoming a household name. Question number 2. In Greek mythology, which Titan gave the gift of fire to mankind and was punished by having his liver eaten out every day by an eagle? Question 3. On which island in modern-day North Carolina was the first attempt at a permanent English colony in America made by Sir Walter Raleigh? It became infamous as a lost colony as all of the settlers vanished, leaving behind only the mysterious word Croatoan on a tree. Question 4. What is the name of the book written by T.H. White and published in 1958, which tells the story of King Arthur? In it, the wizard Merlin lives his life backwards through time. Question 5. In Norse myth, what kind of animal is Ratatoska? He is usually portrayed as a spiteful creature who runs around the branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, spreading rumors and gossip. In Knives Out, styled as a modern take on the classic whodunit, which actor stars as Detective Benoit Blanc? That's question 6. Question 7. How many players on a Quidditch team in the world of Harry Potter? Question 8. The Greek hero Bellerophon was most famous for slaying which vile fire-breathing monster? Part lion, part goat, part serpent. Question 9. Which aristocrat mysteriously went missing on the 8th of November, 1974? Question 10. Who is the mistress of the Weird Sisters in Macbeth, sharing a name with the Greek goddess of magic and the crossroads? Question 11. The Wadjet or Udjet, as an Egyptian hieroglyph, is the eye of which sky god? You may have heard it referred to on Only Connect. Question 12. What was the full title of Agatha Christie's first published novel, which introduced audiences to the beloved Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot? Question 13. Who was the brown wizard in J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, portrayed by Sylvester McCoy in the Hobbit films? Question 14. The name of the Greek youth abducted by Zeus to serve as his cupbearer. The largest moon in the solar system is named after him. And question 15. Which crime writer created the detective Dr. Tony Hill, portrayed by Robson Green in the TV series Wire in the Blood? If you need to hear any of those for a third time, turn your volume up, start paying attention, and pop the number of the question there, and I'll give it to you. Other than that, you've got a few minutes now. I'll say 2.5 minutes, arbitrarily, to submit your answer sheets to Mr. Sharadine for marking. So 2.5 minutes, and if you need any repeating for a second time, pop it in the chat there, and I will gladly oblige. Some tough ones in there, I know, but I'm feeling that I have to scale the difficulty up a little bit when people are making me look like a soft touch by scoring 59 out of 60 on my quizzes. I'm going to have to up the difficulty a little bit. Craig, number 6 for you. Number 6. In Rian Johnson's 2019 film, Knives Out, which actor stars as gentleman detective Benoit Blanc? And Helen, question 15 for you. Which crime writer created the detective Dr. Tony Hill, portrayed by Robson Green in the TV series Wire in the Blood? And we should start to see now, Farid, answers trickling in. Lovely. Thank you, Pear Tree, for a nice early submission there. The Latvians as well. Wilborn's wasting no time. Crown Corners, Agatha Christie. Lady Kavaida's in as well. Wuhan Clan. Thank you, all of those people. Keep them coming. Joe Wicks is all you need. Beaumont, smash this one out of the park. I need to have a look at that one. Claire, question 9 for you was... Sorry, I've just gone off the screen. Question 9. Which aristocrat, once considered for the role of James Bond, mysteriously went missing on the 8th of November, 1974? Very political, that answer. Very political. Very topical as well. Not even the leader of the Labour Party anymore. And Keir. Oh, is it Russ who's Monkman and Siegel? That's a weird one, Monkman and Siegel. I made friends with Bobby Siegel, and then all of a sudden he just became this massive celebrity. He invited me today. It just said, Bobby Siegel invites you to like Bobby Siegel. I thought, well, I already like you. That's why we were friends in the first place. So just a few teams waiting on now, putting on the finishing touches and hoping to God they've spelt some of these names right. I'm sure some of them are a little bit wacky, as mythology and magic and mystery I want to be. We won't take spelling too much into account. If the meaning if the meaning's clear and we can tell what you mean, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We like to give marks in this quiz rather than take them away. This is very much not a case of trying to trip people up. We're not about that life, me, Farad and I. Is that true? Yeah, Steph. He's a super nice guy. He was so friendly the whole time. He was a real gent, and I'm glad he's done well. Uh, Gentlemanly, very intelligent, good for him. And his name's Bobby Seagull. I mean, that's a name that deserves recognition. Not many. Was he at what, Steph? Was he at Emmanuel? I forget. I can't remember which college he was at. We have received all financing our chances. Are just counting up the loose change. Dr. Farkas sadly not in the house this evening. Is that right? More important things to deal with, I'm sure. And just waiting on Winfield as well to put the finishing touches on his answers, and then we are good to go. So just waiting on two, and then I can start reading out the answers. This is a round very much close to my heart. If there are three things I love that begin with the letter M, it's magic, mythology, and mystery. Just waiting on the finance team now. Financing our chances, who I know you told us you're in. Just waiting on your answers now. Gav just trying to rack his brain for his knowledge of Greek mythological monsters. When it comes, it'll be there. The penny will drop. There we go. We're in. Excellent stuff. Okay, so Farad is now in a position to start marking. I'll go through the answers, and by the time I've done that, we'll be ready to give you scores on the doors. Vari, as someone who famously doesn't have an ego, I think it's always worth keeping them in check. As Socrates once said, the wise man knows only one thing, that he knows nothing. And that's why you're here this evening. Those pearls of wisdom. Okay, so answer to question number one. The performer born in Budapest in 1874, who became a household name in America in 1926, was, of course, the escapologist Harry Houdini. Lots of teams getting that one, so well done. Question two. The Greek Titan who gave the gift of fire to mankind and was punished by having his liver eaten out by an eagle and regrow every day, he's being out again, was Prometheus. Question three, tough one this. The mysterious lost colony in the Americas was the Roanoke colony. Again, we've been generous on spelling. By the time they returned, I think it was 2-3 years later, all they found were desolate houses, missing colonists, and the word Croatoan carved into a tree. And still to this day, scholars not entirely sure what that means and what happened to these settlers. Question four, a tough one again. The name of the book written by T.H. White, published in 1958, telling the story of King Arthur, was the wonderful book, The Once and Future King. The first part of that, about the childhood of King Arthur, was adapted into the Sword and the Stone, the old Disney film that some of you might remember. And Radio 4 did a wonderful adaptation a few years ago of the whole thing. And if you're bored, I strongly recommend finding it because it was wonderful. Question number five, bit of a deep cut on Norse mythology here. The animal Ratatoska, a spiteful creature who runs around the branches of the world tree. He is a squirrel, a red squirrel. Runs up and down, spreading rumors and gossip. The actor in the Rian Johnson film Knives Out, with a fantastic turn as the detective Benoit Blanc, was our very own Daniel Craig, described in the film because of his southern accent as CSI KFC, which I thought was very good indeed. Great film. Again, another recommendation if you are something to do. Sort of old school whodunit with a bit of a modern twist. Question seven, once again proving how much I shouldn't ask Harry Potter questions because they get gobbled up like Bertie Bott's every flavoured beans. There are 7 players on a Quidditch team. A keeper, 2 beaters, 3 chasers, and the seeker. Question 8, the Greek hero Bellerophon was most famous for slaying the vile, fire-breathing Chimera. who was part lion, part goat, part serpent. The aristocrats who went missing in 1974 was, of course, Lord Lucan. And we have accepted the Earl of Lucan and his actual real name, John Billingham, which I doubt anybody put. Question 10, a really tough question here, so well done for anyone who got this one. Appearing in only 2 scenes, the mistress of the Weird Sisters in Macbeth is Hecate. The Egyptian hieroglyph known as the Wadjet is the Eye of Horus. And you may know that from Only Connect when players choose the 2 reeds, the horned viper, and so on. They sometimes ask for the Wadjet, the Eye of Horus. The first ever Poirot story, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. Tough one, that again. A lot of people may be putting Death on the Nile or Murder on the Orient Express, but it's The Mysterious Affair at Styles. The Brown Wizard in Middle Earth is Radagast. Radagast the Brown. Again, I think he definitely drew the short straw there. Question 14, largest moon in the solar system and the cupbearer of Zeus was Ganymede. And question 15, the crime writer who created Detective Dr. Tony Hill, portrayed by Robson Green in War in the Blood, was Val McDermid. Val McDermid. And almost by magic, Farid has managed to conjure up the current leaderboard already. Quick work from him. So let's have a look, shall we? Oh, now this makes for interesting reading. We'll start with those that got 10 points or higher in that round. In joint 9th place with 10 points each, we have Joe Wicks is All You Need, Hassan's Household, and Agatha Christie. Now, under the impression that I think Helen is on her own, that is a particularly impressive score. So well done there. In 8th place with an impressive 11 points, we have A Team Has No Name. That's Hannah Howe and family. In joint 3rd place, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, all considered to be joint 3rd on 12 points. We have Winfield's Redemption, Social Distancing, Ethelwald, the Wilborns, and Pear Tree, all of those teams on 12 points. In 2nd place, somewhere they're probably not used to being, actually, with an impressive 13, is Quiz Read. But leading the way after round 1 with an impressive 14 points is Tequila Mockingbirds. That is Helen Topping Shaw and family. Is it possible for me to see, Farid, what answers people are putting there? I'd love to know which was the question that tripped up the Topping Shaws on that one. Oh, I can see it. I can see it. Ah, the Sword in the Stone, I think. Oh, no, they did put the Once and Future King, so you give them that one. Oh, it was the squirrel. It was the squirrel. They put rat. Well, clearly Helen not having the kids around to hold you back is exactly what you need. Oh, and Helen is not on her own anymore either. So good to see that everybody's got some company. I missed that, but happy birthday to Marcus King there. 18 on Monday. I'm sure we're going to be celebrating in raucous style with a cup of tea. So really well done. Tough rounds, a little bit tougher than some of the rounds last week. No one managed to get maximum points, but still some really impressive scores. We're going to change the tone completely now, and we're going to go for a music round. So if you can open your answer sheets for round 2, if you haven't got them open already or you haven't got them to hand, the link's going to appear there again, as if by magic. And we will be able to make a start on round number 2. The topping shores there expose the fact that Quiz Read are not, in fact, completely invincible. But will it manage to knock their confidence, or will it simply get them ready to fight back even harder? And some really, really good scores as well. Some teams we haven't seen toward the front of the pack managing to get a really good first round in there. So can they hold on after a music round? And you'll be glad to know this round is less influenced by my own personal taste in music than the last round perhaps was, and therefore it will be a little bit more varied perhaps. If you haven't already done it, let's get the answer sheet to round 2 open, and I'm going to start reading the questions in about 10 seconds, I think. Excellent. And if you need to, now would be a fairly good time to charge glasses, get comfortable, get a new sheet of paper, etc. And just to clarify, this is not like the music round in week 1, an intros round or any kind of audio. It is just 15 straight questions on your musical knowledge and know-how. So let's make a start. Round 2, question 1. Which 1970s new wave singer-songwriter fronted the Blockheads? Question number 2. Which Austrian composer wrote 9 symphonies, including one nicknamed The Resurrection and one known as the Symphony of 1,000 because of the huge number of performers it requires? So just looking for the name of the Austrian composer there. Question number 3. Which British band, who released the album Employment in 2005, took their name from that of a South African football team? Everything all right, Fred? All good? Question number 4. Which single Italian word, when used in musical notation, is a direction to play a piece or passage very loudly? So, what single Italian word, when used in musical notation, is a direction to play a piece or passage very loudly? I really do need a haircut. However much Johnny was trying to make me feel better about myself, it really does. Having to sit staring at myself for 2 hours on a screen really does highlight that fact. Okay, question number 5. Who, according to a song of 1973, lives on his back, loves chimney stacks, and sits like a man but smiles like a reptile? Question number 6. In the name of the pop/R&B group JLS, what do the letters JLS actually stand for? This is up there with the 4 and 5G from the other week. You've heard it so many times, but do you know what it actually stands for? Question number 7. Released in 2006, what was Rihanna's first #1 single? It peaked at #2 in the UK charts, but spent 3 weeks at the top of the US Billboard 100. All right, listen carefully then. Question number 8. Which Canadian band, named after a lactating contortionist stripper and variably described as metal, post-hardcore and screamo, have released albums including Watch Out, Crisis and Old Crows, Young Cardinals? And yes, I did just say that the band was named after a lactating contortionist stripper. It might be more helpful to think about the albums Watch Out, Crisis, and Old Crows, Young Cardinals. If you get it based on where their name comes from, you're clearly a super fan, either of the band or... I hope someone makes a gif of that. Question number 9, far more wholesome. Who currently holds the record both as the oldest person to have a UK #1 single and the oldest person to have an album in the UK top 10? Question number 10. The instantly recognizable 4-note opening motif of which of Beethoven's symphonies was described by the composer himself as fate knocking at the door? And we will accept just the number of the symphony here is all we're looking for. So the instantly recognizable 4-note opening motif of which one of Beethoven's symphonies was described as fate knocking at the door? Question number 11. And listen carefully to this one. Artists often talk about the difficult second album, but paragons of pop Girls Aloud smashed it out of the park with their 2004 follow-up to Sound of the Underground. What was the name of Girls Aloud's sensational second album? And I'll give you a clue. The name of the album is itself a question. Is it the greatest album of all time? I'm not sure, but it's up there. Question number 12. Which British singer-songwriter, popular in the 60s and 70s, is best known for his songs Durham Town and New World in the Morning, as well as his impressive whistling ability? Question 13. Who sang the theme song to the 1999 Bond film, The World Is Not Enough? Question 14. What is the name of the Indian string instrument which was popularised worldwide by the virtuoso Ravi Shankar in the 1960s? George Harrison can be heard playing it on Norwegian wood. And the final question of this round, question 15. The aria, Hell's Vengeance, often simply referred to as the Queen of the Nights aria, appears in which opera by Mozart? Okay, so you are now free to submit your answer sheet at any point to Farid, who will begin marking them. But if you need to hear any of those again, I'm going to read through the questions a second time. After that, I'll ask you to submit your answer sheets as soon as possible. So if you missed anything, listen carefully for a second reading, please. Question 1. Which 1970s new wave singer-songwriter fronted the Blockheads? Question 2. Which Austrian composer wrote 9 symphonies, including one nicknamed The Resurrection and one known as the Symphony of 1,000? Question number 3. Which British band who released the album Employment in 2005 took their name from that of a South African football team? Question 4. What single Italian word, when used in musical notation, is a direction to play a piece very loudly? Question 5. Who, according to a song of 1973, lives on his back, loves chimney stacks, and sits like a man but smiles like a reptile? Question 6. In the name of the pop/R&B group JLS, what do the letters JLS actually stand for? Question 7. Released in 2006, what was Rihanna's first #1 single? It peaked at #2 in the UK charts, but spent 3 weeks at the top of the US Billboard 100. Question 8. Which Canadian band, named after a lactating contortionist stripper, invariably described as metal, post-hardcore, and screamo, have released albums including Watch Out, Crisis, and Old Crow's Young Cardinals? Question 9. Who currently holds the record both as the oldest person to have a UK #1 single and the oldest person to have an album in the UK top 10? Question 10. The instantly recognisable 4-note opening motif of which of Beethoven's symphonies was described by the composer himself as fate knocking at the door? Question 11. What was the name of Girls Aloud's sensational second album? The name of the album is itself a question. Question 12. Which British singer-songwriter, popular in the 60s and 70s, is best known for his songs Durham Town and New World in the Morning, as well as his impressive whistling ability? Question 13. Who sang the theme to 1999 Bond film The World Is Not Enough? Question 14. What was the name of the Indian string instrument popularised worldwide by Ravi Shankar? It can be heard on Norwegian wood by the Beatles. And finally, the aria Hell's Vengeance, often simply referred to as the Queen of the Nights aria, appears in which opera by Mozart? Don't worry about giving everyone else the answers, Justine. They need all the help they can get. Fred, are you still there? You are, sorry. You were being strangely quiet. There was no witticisms coming my way, and I was getting concerned. So, if you can get your entries in as quickly as possible, please. We've only had a handful so far, which is fine because I've only just finished reading the questions a second time. But the quicker you get them in, the quicker we get them marked, the quicker I give you the answers. The quicker you get the league table, the quicker we move on to round 3, the quicker we do round 3, the quicker we mark round 3, the quicker we do round 4, the quicker I shut up, the quicker everyone is done. Say that one again. Jack Wilborn. What are the Wilborns? Seth. Yeah. Seth Wilborn wants to thank his music teacher for the answer to question 4. Who knew that listening to your teachers at school might pay great dividends in the face of a global health pandemic? Thank you to Seth's music teacher. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Yeah, they have. It's not a particularly tough one, I don't think. They have that. It was her first single release, but it didn't make it to number 1. Why am I telling you all of this? I'll tell them. Are all the answers in? We are currently waiting on answers from I Ain't Getting On No Plane Fool and Social Quiz. Once they are in, I will be able to go through the answers. So that's Jamie, Craig, Gary, and Steph and family. Steph, your father's revision is paying off here now. And we're all in, which is fantastic news, because I am champing at the bit to talk you through these answers. So, from the top, for the curious, the 1970s new wave singer who fronted the Blockheads was, of course, Ian Dury. Little bit on the highbrow side, but clearly I'm dealing with a highbrow audience here because we did really well. The Austrian composer who wrote Resurrection and the Symphony of 1000 was Gustav Mahler. The British band who released the album Employment in 2005 and took their name from that of a South African football team were, of course, the wonderful Kaiser Chiefs. The single Italian word, when used in musical notation, is a direction to play a piece or passage very loudly, is fortissimo. Quite a few people put the answer forte. That is loudly, but I specified very loudly, which is fortissimo. Luckily, plenty of people got that one regardless. Really tough question, I thought, but we've made light work of it. He lives on his back. He loves chimney stacks, and he sits like a man but smiles like a reptile. It is, of course, the Gene Genie in the song by David Bowie. The Gene Genie lives on his back, and so on. In the name of the pop/R&B group JLS, the letters JLS stand for Jack the Lad Swing. A couple of good answers to that one. Just Lad Singing, which we quite liked. Not far off, but unfortunately not quite right. Jack the Lad Swing. This question really sorted out the Rihanna fans from those people who just jumped on board with Umbrella. Her first number one single, which only made it to number 2 in the UK charts, but spent 3 weeks at the top of the US Billboard 100, was the wonderful SOS. Please, someone help me. It's not healthy for me to feel this way. A couple of people putting Ponder Replay. It was her first release single, but didn't make it to number 1. And Umbrella, whilst it was her first UK number 1, it obviously wasn't her. It didn't peak at number 2 in the UK charts. Number 8. Now, this was, I think, the toughest question of the quiz so far, but a few teams did get this one. I think Winfield's Redemption got this one. It really is a question for people of questionable moral integrity, I'm sure. The Canadian band, named after the lactating contortionist stripper, described as metal, post-hardcore, and screamo, released albums including Watch Out, Christ and Old Crows, Young Cardinals. Alexis on Fire, and I heard this from a friend. The lactating contortionist stripper was called Alexis Fire, and while searching for a name for their band, Alice Green and friends stumbled upon it. Alexis on Fire. They're actually very, very good and write some really nice songs, despite what their name might suggest. The oldest person to have a UK number 1 single and the oldest person to have an album in the UK top 10, the wonderful Dame Vera Lynn. The instantly recognisable 4-note opening motif of which of Beethoven's symphonies was described as fate knocking at the door? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It was the 5th symphony. Even if you guessed that, you had a 1 in 9 chance. So, yeah, the Beethoven's 5th, and we just needed 5th. Question 11, Girls Aloud's second album. I am thrilled to see so many get this one right, because it really is a seminal piece of art. Girls Aloud's second album, What Will the Neighbours Say? They'll probably say, hang on, haven't you already been out for a walk today? I'm calling old Bill. Question 12. The singer-songwriter who sung Durham Town and New World in the Morning, favourite of my grandmother, which is where I heard him the first time on our old CD player, was Roger Whittaker. Well done for those that got that. Question 13. Who sang the theme to the 1999 Bond film The World Is Not Enough? Garbage. And Garbage also sang the theme to the Garbage film, The World Is Not Enough. No, it was actually pretty good compared to Die Another Day. Question 14, Ravi Shankar popularised the sitar around the world. And another tough one here, the Hell's Vengeance or Queen of the Nights aria appears in which opera by Mozart? That is, of course, the Magic Flute. And you will be glad to know that we have accepted Die Zauberflöte for those of you that only write answers in German. All good? So, that takes us to the league table. Ooh la la. Ooh la la. We have, again, an abundance of teams who are in a sort of odd joint 9th place limbo, all with a very impressive 19 points. They are Muckman and Siegel, the Latvians, the newly quarantined teachers, egos bruised, but back on track. Helen Hassan, Hassan's Household, and Social Quistancing. All of those teams in joint 9th place with 19 points. In 8th place with 21 points, standing on their own, we have Pear Tree, that is Graham Smith and the Basins. Then on joint 4th place, we have 4 teams with 20. A team has no name, Winfield's Redemption and the Wilborns, which then puts us into a very close podium. In 3rd place with 23 points, 11 on the last round, we have Elf Wood Olds. In 2nd place with 10 points on the last round, we have Tequila Mockingbirds, and reclaiming their position at the top with 13 points on the last round, giving a total of 26 points, 2 points clear of second place. We have Quiz Reed, the indomitable Quiz Reed. It may well be the case. Can anybody stop them? Shirley, was that one Shirley Manson for The World Is Not Enough? Farad, could you just do me a quick favour behind the scenes and just double check that one? If Shirley Manson is an acceptable answer, as in the vocals for Garbage, which I believe that it is, can you just give Shirley's team there the extra mark? Because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is correct. If not the answer I was expecting. Thank you for that, Shirley. Not a problem. I know you're not angry. I know you're very excited, and caps lock sometimes happens to the best of us. You can have that one if we can just check that one's okay. So round 3, a little bit different, is a picture round. It is a picture round on film and cinema. In a moment, when I say so, Farad is going to pop the answer sheet for round 3 into the chat. Once again, and those of you that have done these before will have seen this before, you will be given 15 images. These are stills from a film. All you need to do is, on the answer sheet, write down the name of the film. If it is from a series of films, you need to name the correct film in that series. For example, simply saying Star Wars for a still from episode 1, The Phantom Menace, would not count. So please don't say, oh, it was the right series. No, you have to name the film. This time, to differentiate it from the last film round we did, all of the films have one thing in common. They all won Best Picture at the Oscars. These are all Oscar Best Picture winning films. All I need is the name of the film. I don't need the year. I don't need anything else. Just the full and complete title of the film. As I don't need to read the questions out to you this time, I'm going to take a quick break. You're going to have as much time as you need. Well, you're going to have 10 minutes. So once I say go, answer sheet appears, you answer, and as soon as you're done, you can submit it. You have a maximum of 10 minutes, but the sooner you get them in, the sooner they can get marked. Okay? So, Farid, answer sheet is going to go into the chat now. God, Jamie Wilcock's waiting. We can't make Jamie wait. There it is. I told you. Just as I said, it's there. I'm joking. I was making myself look silly on purpose. So there it is. The answer sheet's there. The pictures are all in there. Get the answers in. Name the film. 10 minutes, which means we will reconvene at 20:45. We're getting a little bit quicker. 5 minutes earlier than usual. 20:45, and then I'll start pestering you to get your answers in. So name the film. It's a Best Picture winner. Good luck. Go well. See you in 10. Okay, everybody, we've got. I mean, it's a couple of minutes until I start telling you that you've got a couple of minutes left. But we said we'd start again at 1:45, and we will. But yeah, as soon as you can get your answers in, some people already have. We've got answers in from Pear Tree, Crown Corners, and a couple of others. But as soon as you can get them in, that would be great. And yes, Alice, I had briefly turned the sound off just to give everyone a brief reprieve, and so I could bitch about you all to Farid without any comeback. Should have heard some of the things I was saying about you. Exactly. Excellent quizzes, getting it all right, doing fantastically, submitting your answers punctually. You know, the usual. Okay, answers starting to fly in now, which is great to see. Thank you very much. You have got a few more minutes, but the sooner you get it done, the better. So as soon as you think you've got everything, remember they are all Best Picture winning films, and we are looking for the name of the specific film, not a film series, if that is relevant to the particular question. What's that? What, do you recommend the? Yeah, no, very true. Yeah, as Farid says, if you've struggled on this round, what you have gained from it is probably a list of recommendations to watch. Although, as I will discuss when I go through the answers, there are some films here which I think are absolutely bloody terrible and closer to deserving a Golden Raspberry than they were an Oscar. But what do I know? But yeah, certainly some absolute stone cold classics in here, that's for sure. I didn't go too far back either. I think I didn't go any further back than 1970, so I think I kept it relatively recent. Mainly because these are all the ones that I learnt from Sporkle, and therefore didn't have to look up what the film was and when they won it. I just had a bank of 15 to memory, but they are all on the newer side. I don't think that gives too much away, given the films and that and the like. But they are all, as an extra clue, they are all on the newer side. They are all on the newer side. Okay, can we please start having answers in now if they haven't already come? We've got about half now, just waiting on Financing Our Chances, FU Adults, strong on film, looking to capitalise on their advantage, I'm sure. Social Quizzing, Let's Get Quizzical, uncharacteristically tardy in handing in their answers this time. Monkman and Siegel, Russ, no doubt, leafing through his VHS catalogue, looking for the films. He's that kind of guy. And Winfield's Redemption. Winfield is currently boring the rest of his team with his review of each one of these films, I'm sure. But no doubt a strong score coming from that team as well. So I'm going to start going through the answers, or I want to start going through the answers in 2.5 minutes. So if you are still to submit, please do that now. Thank you for those that have already done so. Just 2 teams now. FU Would and Social Quizzing to come in, and I can start going through the answers. And there we are. Again, the power of the name and shame. So, if everyone can resume their seats or return to their seats, hopefully glasses charged and ready, I can go through the answers to the best picture round. The best picture round. The best picture round ever. So, the image the first image, question 1, the 1993 winner, the Western, Unforgiven. Unforgiven was the answer to question 1. Question 2, 1988 winner, The Last Emperor. Question 3, and I said earlier that there are a few films in here which I don't think were worthy winners of Best Picture, and this, I think, certainly one of them, and often gets to the top of lists of films that should never have won Best Picture. It is a very heavy-handed treatment of kind of racism, xenophobia in LA. It is 2006 winner Crash. It's a sort of vignette-based film. In my opinion, not up to much, but the Academy liked it. Question 4, the sort of pastiche silent film, The Artist from 2012. Question 5, the messy divorce of Kramer versus Kramer, which won in 1980. Another film which I don't think should have been anywhere near Best Picture, but was probably carried by the charisma of Ralph Fiennes, was 1997's The English Patient. Question 7, very recent, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only film not in the English language to win Best Picture rather than Best Foreign Language Picture was 2020 South Korean film Parasite. Question 8, Michael Keaton in Birdman. Question 9 was Dances with Wolves from 1991. Question 10, you saw Meryl Streep there in 1986 winner Out of Africa. Question 11, real favourite of mine, not the best film starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman as a charismatic duo, but Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid didn't win Best Picture. This is The Sting, 1974's winner. The Sting actually, interestingly, split two films from the same series down the middle, which won in 1973 and 1975, respectively. The answer to question 12 is The Godfather Part 2. And we will not accept just The Godfather, because Robert De Niro isn't in The Godfather at all. He stars as a young Vito in The Godfather Part 2. And that won in 1975, with The Godfather Part 1 winning back in 1973. Question 13 was The Deer Hunter, which won in 1979. Question 4 was Annie Hall, which won in 1978, the Woody Harrelson film. And question 15, joint record holder for most Oscar nominations, I believe, with something like crazy like 13, was Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And we have accepted Return of the King. We haven't, as I stated, just accepted Lord of the Rings, and that won in 2003. So 15 classic movies. Let's see how that has affected our league table. Ooh, a couple of teams with perfect scores on that round. Exciting times. So we've now got a slightly more split field, and I will start with teams with 30 points or more. And the teams with 30 points are in joint 10th place. They are the Thompson Tartans and the Newly Quarantined Teachers. They are in joint 10th with 30 points. On 31 points is Hassan's Household. In joint 7th place with 34 points, we have Agatha Christie and our early leaders, Tequila Mockingbird, slipping down a little bit. Wonder if Dom's fallen asleep again. Oh, no, he'd already gone. He wasn't playing in the first place, was he? Maybe he's come back. Maybe that's why you dropped off the lead. In joint 3rd place with 35 points each, we have A Team Has No Name, Winfield's Redemption, and The Wilborns. Oh, and FU Adult, all of those teams on 35 points. On 36 points, that's Pear Tree in 2nd place. And it's almost getting boring saying it, but in 1st place with a commanding 41 points out of 45, the imperious Quiz Read, as we go into the final round. And as I pause for dramatic effect, I'm actually just trying to get the final round up on the spreadsheet. The final round is the ever popular connections round. I probably don't have to explain this round now, but just to be safe, I will. There are, once again, 15 questions, but I want you to think of them as 3 sets of questions. You will get 1, 2, 3, 4 straightforward questions with an answer. Question 5, or the 5th question in each set, will be what connects the answers to the previous 4 questions. So if, completely off the top of my head, the answers to questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 were whiskey, wine, port, and beer, you'd say in the connections, they're all alcoholic drinks, types of alcohol, yeah? If it was Paris, Lille, Nantes, and Caen, you'd say, oh, they're all French cities, and so on. It is at our discretion what is an acceptable answer for the connection, okay? My advice to you would be as precise as possible in each case. In the previous example that I just gave, where it was the French cities would be an acceptable answer. Cities or places would not. Yeah? So much like Only Connect, which inspires this round, we have the final say on what an appropriate connection is. If you do want to challenge it and you think your connection works for all 4 questions, please be very sure before you challenge it, and you can let us know in the chat that you have a contestation, and if it's relevant, we will address it. But hopefully that won't be the case. Rather than going 15 questions and then repeat, this time I will do your 4 clues, ask you what links them, and give you the 4 clues again. So I'll be repeating them as a set. Okay. The answer sheet to round 4 has just appeared in the chat, which I'm now told by Tom is on that side of your screen. I think it's on the opposite side of my screen. So have a look in the chat. The answer sheet is there. The current updated league table is there. Farid is politely asking if anyone disputes anything, because he's that kind of guy. I would say deal with it. And hopefully we're all ready to start round 4 and there are no questions, no issues. You've all done it before now, I think. There's no one who hasn't done the connections round before. So get your answers to question 4 open. Get your brains tuned into your lateral thinking, and let's get ready to rumble. So, week 4, round 4, question number 1. Nicknamed the Queen of Soul, which American singer is most famous for Respect, or RESPECT? Is that because you've got a massive forehead and a serious and a serious drug problem? Question number 2: who starred as Detective Richard Thorogood in the first 3 series of BBC's charming Death in Paradise? For me, it's never been the same since Florence left. Also, just to dial back for a second, Helen, Jackie, are you arranging play dates on my quiz? Because it looks like you are. Can you please refrain from doing that? This is a serious highbrow academic quiz. Honestly. Question 3. Which former opening batsman with 17 Test and 100 one-day international appearances for England captained Warwickshire from 2003 to 2005, which included victory in the 2004 County Championship? He is now a regular commentator on Sky Sports. So former England opening batsman, 17 Test and 100 one-day international appearances, captained Warwickshire from 2003 to 2005. What was his name? And question number 4. Which Gilbert and Sullivan operetta is set in the Tower of London and features the characters Elsie Maynard, Colonel Fairfax, and Jack Point? And question number 5 is, of course, what connects the answers to questions 1, 2, 3, and 4? And for fairness, I will give you questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. So, question 1, nicknamed the Queen of Soul, which American singer is most famous for Respect, also known as R-E-S-P-E-C-T? Question 2, who starred as Detective Richard Thorogood in the first 3 series of BBC's charming Death in Paradise? Question 3, which former opening batsman with 17 Test and 100 ODI appearances for England captained Warwickshire from 2003 to 2005, including victory in the 2004 County Championship? He is now a regular commentator on Sky Sports. Not much going on at the minute. Question 4, which Gilbert and Sullivan operetta is set in the Tower of London and features the characters Elsie Maynard, Colonel Fairfax, and Jack Point? And question number 5, what connects the answers to questions 1, 2, 3, and 4? Gav, Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm sure there is such a person as Gilbert O'Sullivan, but I don't know him, and he's not the person who wrote this operetta. Okay, so moving on to the second connection set with question number 6. What type of event has only been celebrated in the UK just 3 times? First in 1809, then in 1887, and then for the 3rd time in 2002. Question number 7. Which 2014 thriller stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Lou Bloom, who records violent events under the cover of darkness in LA before selling them to a local news station? So just after the name of the film there. Question 8. Which mammal with the scientific name gulo gulo is sometimes known as the skunk bear? It is most commonly found in the snowy tundra of Canada and Siberia. Fred, are you typing or having a fight with your keyboard? Is it FIFA? Bit of solitaire. And question number 9. What is the call sign of Val Kilmer's Tom Kazansky in 1986's impossibly homoerotic classic Top Gun? And question number 10 is, of course, what links the answers to questions 6, 7, 8, and 9? And for your benefit, I will read questions 6, 7, 8, and 9 again. So, question 6. What type of event has been celebrated in the UK just 3 times? In 1809, 1887, and 2002. Question 7. What is the name of the 2014 thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Lou Bloom, who records violent events under the cover of darkness in Los Angeles before selling them to a local news station? Question 8. Which mammal with the scientific name gulo gulo is sometimes known as the skunk bear? It is most commonly found in the snowy tundra of Canada and Siberia. And question 9. What is the call sign of Val Kilmer's Tom Kazansky in 1986's impossibly homoerotic classic Top Gun? And question 10. What links the answers to questions 6, 7, 8, and 9? And the final set of connected questions. Question 11. Someone wants question 6 before we move on. Oh, as it's Jackie. I've made multiple requests on a Wednesday morning of please can you print out 75 copies of this in colour, double-sided A3, so I guess I'll oblige. Jackie, question 6. What type of event has been celebrated in the UK just 3 times? In 1809, 1887, and 2002. That was question 6. So last question set is question 11. Which of Christ's apostles converted on the road to Damascus? Sarah, you know what? Tell JMR 750 colour copies that I then threw in the bin, for all I care. $750 colour copies laminated on card. Nice to know that Will is on a tight leash. Question number 12. Who masterminded and organised the Berlin Conference of 1885, seen by many historians as the height of the so-called Scramble for Africa? Question 13. With caps at fly half, centre and fullback, which World Cup winning South African rugby player holds the record for the highest number of points scored for the Springboks in international rugby? And question 14. Which chef, the first in Britain to be awarded 3 Michelin stars at the time the youngest person ever to receive this accolade, ran the show in the 3rd and 4th series of ITV's Hell's Kitchen? And question 15. What links the answers to questions 11, 12, 13, and 14? Joe, could you repeat questions 11, 12, 13, and 14? Why, yes, of course I can. Question 11. Which of Christ's apostles converted on the road to Damascus? Question 12. Who organised the Berlin Conference of 1885, seen by many historians as the height of the so-called scramble for Africa? Question 13. With caps at fly half, centre and fullback, which World Cup winning South African rugby player holds the record for the highest number of points scored for the Springboks in international rugby? Question 14. Which chef, the first in Britain to be awarded 3 Michelin stars, and at the time the youngest person ever to receive this accolade, ran the show in the 3rd and 4th series of ITV's Hell's Kitchen? And question 15. What links the answers to questions 11, 12, 13 and 14? Justine, I will accept any name by which he is commonly known. Yeah, although as it's a connections round, certain answers you give will be more helpful for the connection, but I will accept any answer that is relevant. I know exactly what you mean. I'll accept either of them, but one of them will help you with the connections more than the other, if that makes sense. And yes, Ali, he was apostle / disciple / general fanboy of Big JC. So you should be able to submit your answers at any point. If there are any repeats that you need, stick them in the chat now, and I will gladly oblige. But hopefully, going through them twice has been sufficient. And we are starting to see answers come pouring in. No, we're not. No one's submitted their answers yet. I'll shut up. It's almost like a formula, I say now. Oh dear, that would be bad, wouldn't it? So get those answers in. So I've been receiving some letters this week saying, Rollo, do you really write all of these questions yourself? Do you come up with the connections yourself? Yes, I really genuinely do. And as you can imagine, the satisfaction of a good connections round is hard to match. But yeah, no, they really are all mine. I don't like to, rely on. There are lots of websites that do. Oh dear. Well, I can't really legislate for that. Yeah, no, I've just looked that up actually. So weirdly, not often always considered one of the 12, but always referred to as blank the apostle. You will know that one better than me, I'm sure. But we can always rephrase it to prominent Christian figure or so on. Someone who taught the gospel of Christ. How about that as a broad definition of an apostle? someone who taught the Gospels. We are almost there, I think, now. About half of the answers in. I know why this round always takes a bit longer, because people get the connection and they start to work backwards and they play a bit of a sort of elimination guessing game. That's absolutely fine. But if you can just submit your answers as soon as possible, that would be great. Good. About by the time people found my quiz difficult. They were, mate. They were. I'm just going to mute this for a second. Sorry, Helen, because you were doing really bloody well. Are there any? We've got about a minute. Are there any questions I could read out for you that would help? I can quickly rattle through a few, even if it's one set of connections, if that helps you. I don't know if you've already submitted your answers, but if I can be of help, I will. It's a noble calling. Pete, unfortunately, I can't be of any help for being thick. That is beyond my powers, I'm afraid. Shirley, you are after 14. Please hold. Shirley, question 14. Which chef, the first in Britain to be awarded 3 Michelin stars, and at the time the youngest person ever to receive this accolade, ran the show in the third and fourth series of Hell's Kitchen? We're now waiting on just a handful. Fancy Our Chances, Tequila Mockingbirds, F. You Would Old, Lady Cavidas, I Ain't Got No Plane, Social Distancing, and Winfield's Redemption still to come. Almost there. Almost there. Still. Yeah, still. No, buzzing. Fascinating. That'll be based on one answer, a desperate stab in the dark. Almost there now. All in? I believe we are now all in. We are indeed all in. So I can begin to go through the answers. So, question number 1. The Queen of Soul, who sang Respect, or R-E-S-P-E-C-T, was, of course, the wonderful Aretha Franklin. Detective Richard Thorogood in the first 3 series of BBC's charming Death in Paradise was played by Ben Miller. The former opening batsman with the 100 ODI appearances and the captain of Warwickshire was Nick Knight. And the Gilbert and Sullivan operetta set in the Tower of London was the Yeoman of the Guard. Tough connection, this one. Only 7 or 8 teams, just last-minute fluctuations getting this one right. But if we take the Franklin, the Miller, the Knight, and the Yeoman, sometimes the Cannon's Yeoman, we have 4 of the pilgrims in Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. Each one of those spinning a tale and telling a tale in Geoffrey Chaucer's Middle English, The Canterbury Tales. So we were looking for pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales for that one. Well done if you got that. Question number 6. What type of event has been celebrated in the UK just 3 times? 1809, 1887 and 2002. The answer to that is Golden Jubilees of reigning monarchs. We've accepted Golden Jubilees. We haven't just accepted Jubilees because that would be incorrect. It wouldn't have only been celebrated 3 times. But Golden Jubilees have been celebrated 3 times and 3 times only. George III in 1809, Victoria in 1887, and of course Queen Elizabeth in 2002. Question 7. The film starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Lou Bloom recording violent events under the cover of darkness in LA. Loads of people got this one. That was Nightcrawler. I've heard of this film for a while. I only watched it for the first time just the other day. I thought it was superb, if a little bit unnerving, but the answer was Nightcrawler. The mammal with the scientific name Gulo Gulo, which basically just means greedy greedy, found in Canada and Siberia, is the wolverine. I can see now the penny dropping for some of you. And the call sign of Tom Kazansky, played by Val Kilmer in Top Gun, was Iceman. So if we take Jubilee, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Iceman, we all have members of the X-Men in the Marvel comics. Not quite all members of the original comic run X-Men. Jubilee was an addition for the animated series back in the 1990s, but they are all regular members of the X-Men. Question 11. I'm slight errata here. Which of Christ's apostles converted on the road to Damascus? Not one of the classic 12 of Christ's apostles, but still regularly referred to as an apostle. Which religious figure or Christian apostle converted on the road to Damascus? Lots and lots of people getting this one right, so it hasn't caused too much trouble. That was St. Paul. We've accepted Paul, Paul of Tarsus, Saul, basically anything that identifies it as that guy, Paul or Saul, we've given. But one of those answers will help you when others will not. Question 12. Who masterminded and organised the Berlin Conference of 1885? Well, that was the Iron Chancellor of the newly formed Germany, Otto von Bismarck. The South African rugby player, he was a fly half, a centre and a fullback. He won the World Cup, although not in 1995, not the famous win. It was the blonde, he was sort of blonde-maned before Faf de Klerk. It was Percy Montgomery. And the chef, the first in Britain to be awarded 3 Michelin stars and the running the show in 2 series of Hell's Kitchen, that was Marco Pierre White. Now, this is a special moment for me because over the last 4 weeks, you have been bloody brilliant. You frustrated my every attempt to outsmart you and outwit you. But for the first time, question 15, nobody got this one right. This was a connection. Despite people managing to get the previous 4 answers right, this was a question that managed to outfox you. So I'm quite pleased with myself. I must admit that I've managed finally to outdo you. So, St. Paul. St. Paul is an answer. You can say Saul, but St. Paul is the answer that would have helped you most here. St. Paul. Otto von Bismarck, and here the clue is Bismarck. Percy Montgomery and Marco Pierre White. If we take Pierre, Montgomery, Bismarck and St. Paul, we have 4 US state capitals. I love a state capital. I love a bit of state capital trivia. St. Paul, the capital of Minnesota, Montgomery, Alabama. Who are the others? I'm just double check that I've got them right before I misspeak. Bismarck in North Dakota and Pierre in South Dakota. Unfortunately, Justine, three connections out of 4 would not be enough to create a 4-question connection. What a coincidence! But in this case, I was looking for U.S. state capitals, we think that question's right to get there. Steph's dad, who had openly admitted to us that he'd been revising for this quiz on a daily basis, revised US state capitals and still didn't get that one right. So I am over the moon in a way that I finally managed to outfox some of you. Although the wonderful scores again in this quiz would suggest that you are all far more intelligent than I could ever hope to be. And I believe, Farid, that will take us to the final league table. We are there. So, wow, some great scores again. I need to make them all about US state capitals. I really do. So we will start with 10th place. That is people with a score of 40 out of 60 or above. So, in joint 10th place with a very impressive score of 40 points, we have the Fielders and Monkman and Siegel. So that is Victoria King and Russ Parker and their various families. Everyone, if you haven't already, a happy birthday for birthday boy Marcus, who's 18 later in the week. Well done, Victoria. Well done, Russ. In 9th place with 43 points, we have the Thompson Tartans. In 8th place, which I think they'll probably be a little bit disappointed with 44 points, Eld Hewitt-Old in 8th with 44. In 7th place, after an early lead, 45 points for Tequila Mockingbirds. In joint 4th place with 46 points each, we have Agatha Christie, Winfield's Redemption, and Pear Tree. A really good score from all of those teams there. A fantastic score of 47 for the Wilborns, and a slightly more fantastic score of 48 for a team has no name. That is Hannah Howe and family, which means for the 3rd week in a row and 5 points clear at the top, scoring 12 on the last rounds, we have I'm even running out of superlatives for them, and I thought I had superlatives to last me for the rest of my life. We have the sensational Quiz Read. So if everyone can give them a round of applause, they are the winners again. If you have any intention of beating them, you're going to have to make like Mr. Graham and start revising. Last thing, Farad has mentioned it every week, or has reminded me to mention it every week. We are kind of trying to play a sort of pound to play each week. There are always payment details in the emails that go out. You can do it on a week-by-week basis. You can do it at the end. We are hoping to run this for as long as possible. You all have seen the government's plans to maybe phase back into school or whatever. But if you do have it in you and you have the ability and you have the will to give £1 that we can stick towards NSB Charity Week, that would be hugely appreciated. If not, don't worry. Your company and your participation is worth all the money in the world. So thank you. Well done to all teams who took part, and particularly Quiz Read with their 3rd win on the bounce. Until next week, same time, same place, stay at home, save the NHS, and start doing some bloody Sporkle quizzes. It's not like you've got anything else to do. Thank you from me. Goodbye from me. Farad, anything else to say? Mate, I can't say that. There are children playing. Farad says good night. Good night. Thank you.